Commander Sarah Chen stepped out of her small transport ship and looked around the massive space station. Everything was huge. The walls were made of some kind of shiny crystal that caught the light from distant stars. The ceiling was so high that she had to bend her neck back to see it. "This is amazing," Sarah said to herself. She had spent 3 months traveling through space to reach this place. The Zephyrian Council Station was supposed to be where humans would make their first real deal with alien species. Earth needed new technology and trade partners. Sarah's job was simple: talk to the aliens, be friendly, and try to make some deals. She walked toward a large door that slid open with a soft whoosh. Inside, she saw the biggest living things she had ever seen in her life. The Zephyrians were like walking crystal trees. They were at least 7 feet tall, some even bigger. Their bodies were made of what looked like clear blue crystal, but it moved like skin. Light danced inside their bodies, making pretty patterns. They had long arms that ended in hands with too many fingers. Their faces were smooth and oval, with eyes that glowed like tiny stars. "Welcome, small human," said the biggest Zephyrian. His voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I am High Counselor Velneth. We have been waiting for you." Sarah smiled and stepped forward. "Thank you for having me. I'm Commander Sarah Chen from Earth. I'm here to discuss trade agreements and—" "Yes, yes," Velneth interrupted, his crystal body making a soft ringing sound as he moved. "We know why you are here. Your species needs help. We understand completely." Sarah frowned. "Help? I think there might be some confusion. We're here to establish mutual trade relationships." "Poor little human," another Zephyrian said sadly. This one was shorter than the others, but still much taller than Sarah. "Do not worry. We have studied your species carefully. We know that humans cannot survive alone. You constantly need emotional support and companionship. Without it, you become sad and cannot function properly." Sarah's mouth dropped open. "What? That's not— We have read your historical documents," Velneth continued. "Your people write many stories about needing wives and husbands and life partners. Your movies and books show that humans who are alone become very unhappy and cannot work well. Some even become sick from loneliness." Sarah tried to speak, but Velneth kept talking. "This is why the Galactic Council has classified your species as dependent. You need constant care and attention to survive. It is not your fault. Some species are naturally weak in certain areas. The Gorvak need special food every few hours or they die. The Milian cannot see without their special eye devices, and humans need emotional support constantly. But we don't—" Sarah started. "Do not be ashamed," said the shorter Zephyrian kindly. "I am Kethvar, and I have been chosen to be your support partner while you are here. I will make sure you have everything you need." Sarah looked at Kethvar. Even though he was the shortest Zephyrian she had seen, he was still much taller than her. His crystal body was a lighter shade of blue than the others, and the light inside him moved more gently. "Support partner?" Sarah asked. "Yes," Kethvar said happily. "I will stay with you at all times. I will make sure you eat regularly, get enough sleep, and never feel alone or scared. I have studied human needs very carefully. I know that you need someone to talk to, someone to comfort you when you are worried, and someone to help you make decisions." Sarah felt her face getting hot with embarrassment and anger. "Listen, I appreciate your concern, but humans are actually very independent. We don't need constant care. We can make our own decisions and—" "Of course you think that," Velneth said in a patient voice, like he was talking to a child. "Many dependent species believe they are independent. It is a natural defense mechanism, but we have the scientific data. Your own studies show that lonely humans have shorter lives and more health problems." "Those studies don't mean—" Sarah tried again. "The matter is settled," Velneth announced. "Kethvar will take care of you during your stay. He is very good at his job. He has been trained in human psychology and emotional needs. Kethvar stepped closer to Sarah. She noticed that he moved more carefully than the other Zephyrians, like he was trying not to frighten her. "Do not worry, little Sarah," Kethvar said gently. "I will not leave you alone. When do you need to eat? Are you tired from your journey? Would you like me to show you to your sleeping area? I have prepared a special room with soft lighting and quiet music, just like humans prefer." Sarah stared at him. This was a disaster. She had come here to negotiate as an equal, to prove that humanity was ready to join the galactic community as a strong partner. Instead, they thought humans were like helpless pets that needed babysitters. "How did you even get these ideas about humans?" Sarah asked. "We intercepted many of your entertainment broadcasts," Velneth explained. "Movies, television shows, music. So many of them are about humans looking for love, needing relationships, feeling sad when alone. Your popular songs are mostly about wanting to find someone to love or being heartbroken when love is lost." Sarah closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Earth's entertainment industry had accidentally convinced an entire alien species that humans were emotionally dependent creatures who couldn't function alone. "And look how small you are," Kethvar added kindly. "So tiny and fragile. Your bones are not even made of crystal. How do you not break when you fall down?" Other alien species had started gathering around to watch. Sarah saw the tall, insect-like Vrathan, the floating jellyfish creatures called drifters, and several species she didn't recognize. They were all staring at her with what looked like curiosity and pity. "Is this the human?" one of the Vrathan clicked in their language. "So small, so weak-looking." "I heard they cry when they are sad," whispered a drifter. "Water comes out of their eyes." Sarah realized that her entire mission was in danger before it had even begun. If the galactic community saw humans as dependent, weak creatures who needed constant care, they would never take Earth seriously as a trade partner. Humanity would become a charity case instead of an equal member of galactic civilization. "Kethvar," she said carefully, "I need to prove to you that humans are stronger than you think." Kethvar's crystal body brightened with concern. "Please do not strain yourself, little Sarah. I am here to help you with everything." Sarah looked around at all the watching aliens and made a decision. Somehow she had to change their minds about humanity. But first, she had to convince her well-meaning but completely wrong alien babysitter that humans were capable of much more than anyone thought. Sarah had been on the station for 2 days, and Kethvar had not left her side for even 1 minute. He followed her everywhere, carrying a bag of what he called human comfort items: soft blankets, warm drinks, and small snacks. Every few minutes, he would ask if she needed anything. "Are you feeling lonely, Sarah?" he would say. "Do you need me to talk to you about something cheerful?" Sarah was trying to read reports about galactic trade laws when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed all around the station. The crystal walls began making a deep humming sound that made Sarah's teeth hurt. Alien voices could be heard over the speakers, talking fast in languages she didn't understand. "What's happening?" Sarah asked, jumping up from her chair. Kethvar immediately moved to stand beside her, his crystal body glowing brighter with worry. "Do not be afraid, little Sarah. I will protect you." High Counselor Velneth's voice came over the speakers, speaking in the common galactic language. "Emergency alert. The mining colony at Kepler Station is under attack by raiders. All ships in the area have been destroyed or driven away. The miners are trapped underground with limited oxygen supply." Sarah felt her heart start beating faster. This was exactly the kind of emergency she had trained for back on Earth. "How far is Kepler Station?" she asked. "About 3 hours by fast ship," Kethvar answered. "But you do not need to worry about it. The Zephyrian rescue teams will handle everything." "Rescue teams?" Sarah asked. Velneth's voice continued. "Our rescue protocols require careful planning and safety checks. We estimate we can reach the trapped miners in 18 hours. Sarah's eyes went wide. 18 hours. But you just said they have limited oxygen? Yes, Kethvar said calmly. The miners probably have about 20 hours of air left. The rescue team will have just enough time if everything goes perfectly according to plan. Just enough time? Sarah couldn't believe what she was hearing. What if something goes wrong? What if it takes longer than expected? Kethvar looked confused. Then, the miners will die, but that is why we must be very careful and follow all safety procedures. Sarah stood up so fast that her chair fell backward. You're going to let people die because you're worried about following procedures? Safety is the most important thing, Kethvar explained patiently. We cannot risk the rescue team. If they get hurt or killed, then even more people will die. Sarah started walking toward the door. Where's the rescue team meeting? Sarah, where are you going? Kethvar asked, following her quickly. You should not leave this room. It might be dangerous out there. I'm going to help with the rescue, Sarah said, walking faster. Help? Kethvar caught up to her easily with his long legs. But you are human. You are not trained for dangerous work. You could get hurt. Sarah found the main meeting room where Zephyrian rescue specialists were, standing around a holographic map of Kepler Station. The mine looked like a maze of tunnels deep underground. Red marks showed where the walls had collapsed, blocking the normal escape routes. The standard approach is through Tunnel 7, one of the Zephyrians was saying. We will need to clear the debris carefully, making sure each section is stable before moving to the next. How long will that take? Sarah asked loudly. All the Zephyrians turned to look at her. Their crystal bodies made soft chiming sounds of surprise. Little human, Velneth said kindly, you should not be here. This is very dangerous work. Kethvar, please take your human back to her safe room. No, Sarah said firmly. I'm a trained rescue specialist. I've been in situations like this before. The Zephyrians looked at each other with confusion. Kethvar stepped forward. Sarah, please do. Not try to be brave. You are too small and fragile for this kind of work. Sarah ignored him and walked up to the holographic map. She studied it carefully, her mind working fast. You're going about this all wrong, she said. Wrong? Velneth sounded shocked. These procedures have been tested for hundreds of years. Look, Sarah pointed at the map. You're trying to go through the main tunnel, but it's completely blocked. That's going to take hours to clear. But see this maintenance shaft here? It goes around the collapsed area. That shaft is too narrow, one of the rescue specialists said. Our equipment cannot fit through it. Your equipment can't fit, Sarah said. But I can. The room went silent except for the soft humming of the holographic display. Absolutely not, Kethvar said, his crystal body turning a darker blue. Sarah, you cannot go into a dangerous mine. You could be crushed or lost, or hurt in many terrible ways. People are going to die if we don't act fast, Sarah said. I can crawl through that maintenance shaft, get to the trapped miners, and help them from the inside while you work from the outside. It will cut the rescue time in half. But what if the shaft collapses while you are inside? Velneth asked. What? If we're too slow and the miners run out of air? Sarah shot back. The Zephyrians began talking among themselves in their musical language. Sarah could tell they were arguing. Some of them kept looking at her with worried expressions. The human is correct about the time, one of them finally said. Our current plan has very little safety margin. But sending her into the mine alone is incredibly dangerous, another argued. Not alone, Sarah said. Kethvar can come with me. Kethvar made a sound like breaking glass. Me? Sarah, I am not trained for rescue work. I am trained to take care of dependent species. Then it's time to learn something new, Sarah said. She turned to Velneth. Give me a suit, some basic tools, and a communication device. I'll get to those miners in 3 hours instead of 18. This is madness, Velneth said, but Sarah could hear doubt in his voice. Humans are not capable of this kind of dangerous work. Let me prove you wrong, Sarah said. Kethvar stepped between Sarah and the other Zephyrians. If Sarah is determined to do this dangerous thing, then I will go with her. Someone must be there to protect her when she realizes she cannot handle it. Sarah almost smiled. Deal. An hour later, Sarah found herself in a small rescue ship racing toward Kepler Station. She wore a special suit designed for underground work, and her belt was full of tools she barely knew how to use. Kethvar sat beside her, his crystal body flickering nervously. I still think this is a terrible idea, he said for the 10th time. No, Sarah said, checking her equipment one more time. But sometimes terrible ideas are the only ones that work. As their ship approached the damaged mining station, Sarah could see the destruction the raiders had caused. Broken ships floated in space around the facility like metal garbage. The main docking bay was full of holes. The miners have been trapped for 6 hours already, Kethvar said, reading from his display. They have 14 hours of air remaining. Then we better hurry, Sarah said, standing up as their ship found a safe place to dock. She was about to show the galaxy what humans could really do. Sarah crawled through the narrow maintenance shaft, her headlamp cutting through the darkness ahead. The metal walls were barely wide enough for her shoulders. Behind her, she could hear Kethvar struggling to fit his much larger crystal body through the tight space. Sarah, are you certain this passage leads to the miners? Kethvar asked, his voice echoing strangely in the confined space. According to the station blueprints, yes, Sarah called back. How are you doing back there? I am managing, Kethvar replied, though Sarah could hear the strain in his voice. Though I never imagined I would be crawling through such a small space. They had been moving through the shaft for 2 hours. Sarah's suit was scratched and dirty, and her arms ached from pulling herself forward. But they were making good time, much faster than the main rescue team could have managed. I can hear something ahead, Sarah said, stopping to listen. Faint voices echoed through the metal walls. That's them, the miners! She crawled faster, her heart beating with excitement. A few minutes later, she reached a grate that opened into a large underground chamber. Below her, she could see 12 miners huddled together around a small emergency light. They looked tired and scared, but alive. Hello down there, Sarah called out. The miners looked up in surprise. They were a mix of different alien species, some tall and thin, others short and round, all wearing dirty mining suits. Who's up there? One of them called back. Rescue team, Sarah said, working to remove the grate. We're going to get you out of here. Rescue team? Another miner laughed bitterly. You sound like just one person, and a small one too. Sarah dropped down into the chamber, landing lightly on her feet. Behind her, Kethvar's crystal form appeared at the opening. It took him much longer to squeeze through, and when he finally dropped down, he looked exhausted. I am Kethvar of the Zephyrian Rescue Service, he announced formally, and this is Commander Sarah Chen of Earth. The miners stared at them both. A Zephyrian and a human? One of them said. That's the rescue team? What's wrong? With your air supply? Sarah asked, getting straight to business. The main ventilation system was damaged in the attack, explained a tall, green-skinned miner. We've been sharing emergency tanks, but we're down to maybe 10 hours of air left. Sarah examined their equipment while Kethvar checked the miners for injuries. She found the problem quickly, a damaged pipe that was leaking precious air into the rock walls. I can fix this, she said, pulling tools from her belt. Kethvar, can you help me hold this piece steady? As they worked together, Sarah noticed something strange. Kethvar's movements were precise and careful, and he seemed to understand exactly what she needed before she asked for it. He wasn't just following her orders, he was thinking ahead, anticipating problems, and offering solutions. You're really good at this, Sarah said as they sealed the air leak. Have you done rescue work before? Kethvar's crystal body dimmed slightly. No, I was assigned to other duties. What kind of duties? Taking care of dependent species. Mostly, Kethvar said quietly. It is considered suitable work for someone like me. Someone like you? Sarah asked, confused. One of the miners who had been listening spoke up. He means someone small. Among Zephyrians, size equals status. The bigger you are, the more important your job. Sarah looked at Kethvar with new understanding. So, because you're shorter than other Zephyrians, they gave you a job taking care of helpless species like humans. It is logical, Kethvar said, but Sarah could hear sadness in his voice. I am not strong enough for construction work. I am not tall enough for high-level diplomacy. I am not impressive enough for military service. Caring for dependent species was the only job they thought I could handle. Sarah felt angry on his behalf. But you're brilliant. You figured out the air pressure calculations faster than I did. You spotted that structural weakness in the tunnel before anyone else. You're not small. You're just human-sized. Kethvar looked at her in surprise. Human-sized? Where I come from, being smaller sometimes means being better, Sarah explained. I can fit in places bigger people can't reach. I can move faster and use less resources. And I can think quickly because I have to. Bigger, stronger people often underestimate me, so I have to be smarter. But humans need constant emotional support, Kethvar said, confused. Your own broadcasts show this. Sarah laughed. Those aren't documentaries. They're entertainment. Stories we tell ourselves. Yes, humans form partnerships, but not because we can't survive alone. We choose to be together because we become stronger when we work as a team. Kethvar considered this while they finished, repairing the air system. Stronger together, he repeated slowly. Exactly. Like what we're doing right now. I couldn't have gotten through that shaft without someone to help me carry equipment. You couldn't have fit through the shaft without someone smaller to lead the way. Together, we can do things neither of us could do alone. The miners cheered as fresh air began flowing into their chamber. They would live long enough for the main rescue team to reach them. Sarah, Kethvar said as they prepared to crawl back through the maintenance shaft. I think I understand now. Human partnership is not about dependence. It is about choice. That's right, Sarah said. We choose our partners and they choose us back. They made it back to the surface just as news came in that would change everything. A Vrathan military ship and a drifter colony vessel had collided near the station, and both species were blaming each other. The situation was getting worse quickly. More ships from both sides were on their way, and tensions were rising. This could start a war, Velnith announced to the emergency council. The Vrathan and the Drifters have been enemies for centuries. One small accident could trigger massive violence. Sarah and Kethvar sat in the back of the meeting room, still dirty from their rescue mission. They watched as the larger, more important Zephyrians debated what to do. We must contact the High Command, one suggested. We should evacuate the station, said another. We need to follow protocol and wait for instructions, said a third. Sarah looked at Kethvar. You know both species well, don't you? Yes, Kethvar said. I have studied many different cultures for my caretaking duties. The Vrathan value honor above all else. The Drifters prize harmony and peace. But both species are too proud to admit fault. What if we could help them save face? Sarah asked. Find a way for both sides to look honorable? Kethvar's crystal body began to glow brighter. That would require very unconventional diplomacy. I'm good at unconventional, Sarah said with a smile. And you understand alien psychology better than anyone else in this room. They looked at each other, and Sarah saw something new in Kethvar's glowing eyes. Not the careful concern of a caretaker, but the excitement of an equal partner. Should we volunteer to help? Kethavar asked. Let's show them what a real partnership can do, Sarah said. As the debate continued around them, the unlikely team of a small Zephyrian and a dependent human began planning their most dangerous mission yet. The main conference room was filled with angry voices. Representatives from the Vrathan collective stood on one side, their insect-like bodies clicking and buzzing with rage. On the other side, the Drifter delegation floated in their biosuits, their jellyfish forms pulsing with bright, angry colors. Your ship deliberately rammed our colony vessel, the lead Vrathan declared, his 4 arms waving aggressively. This is an act of war. Deliberately? The Drifter ambassador's voice came through their translation device, sounding hurt and offended. Your pilot was drunk on fermented fuel. Our sensors have proof. You dare insult Vrathan honor? Another Vrathan stepped forward, ready to fight. Hi. Counselor Velneth stood between the two groups, his crystal body glowing with stress. Please, both sides must remain calm. We will investigate this accident and— Accident? The Vrathan leader slammed all 4 fists on the table. There are no accidents in space, only incompetence or attack. Sarah watched from the back of the room with Kethavar. More ships were arriving outside the station every hour. Soon there would be entire fleets facing each other, and even a small mistake could start a massive war. The traditional diplomatic approach is not working, Kethavar whispered to Sarah. Both species are too angry to listen to reason. What do they care about most? Sarah asked quietly. The Vrathan value honor and strength above everything, Kethavar explained. To admit fault would make them look weak. The Drifters prize harmony and peaceful coexistence. To be blamed for violence would shame their entire culture. Sarah nodded, thinking fast. So neither side can back down without losing face. What if we gave them a way to both look good? How? Sarah stood up. Excuse me! The room went silent. Everyone turned to look at the small human who had dared to interrupt the diplomatic proceedings. Commander Chen, Velneth said nervously, this is not appropriate. Please return to your quarters. With respect, Counselor, Sarah said, walking forward. Your current approach isn't working. I have a suggestion. The Vrathan leader made a dismissive clicking sound. A human wants to teach us diplomacy? Humans cannot even survive without constant care. Actually, Sarah said with a smile, that's exactly why you should listen to me, because I understand what it's like to be underestimated. Kethavar stepped up beside her. I support Commander Chen's request to speak. Velneth looked shocked. Kethavar, you are here to care for the human, not to participate in high-level diplomacy. Maybe. It's time to try something different, Kethavar said firmly. Sarah addressed both delegations. What if this accident wasn't anyone's fault? What if it was caused by something else entirely? Impossible, the Vrathan leader snorted. Our investigation clearly shows— Your investigation shows that the Drifter ship changed course at the last second, Sarah interrupted. But why did it change course? The Drifter ambassador's biosuit rippled with confusion. Our pilot had to avoid a piece of debris that appeared suddenly on our sensors. Debris that wasn't there a moment before, Sarah continued. Almost like it appeared out of nowhere. She turned to Kethavar. Kethavar, what do you know about the recent raider attacks on shipping lanes? Kethavar's crystal body began to glow as he understood where Sarah was going. The raiders have been using cloaking devices. They hide pieces of their ships in busy shipping areas to spy on traffic patterns. So what if, Sarah said, a piece of cloaked raider equipment malfunctioned and suddenly appeared right in the shipping lane? The Drifter pilot had to swerve to avoid it, causing the collision. The room erupted in discussion. Both sides began talking at once. That would make sense, the Drifter ambassador said thoughtfully. Our pilot reported seeing something strange just before the impact. But there is no proof of this raider device, the Vrathan leader said suspiciously. Sarah smiled. Then let's go find it. 3 hours later, Sarah and Kethvar sat in a small search ship with representatives from both the Vrathan and Drifter fleets. They were scanning the area where the collision had happened, looking for any trace of hidden technology. I still do not understand why we are following the suggestions of a human and a smaller Zephyrian, grumbled the Vrathan officer. Because their rescue mission succeeded where our standard procedures would have failed, the Drifter representative replied calmly. Perhaps unconventional thinking has value. Kethvar was operating the scanning equipment with incredible skill. His smaller size allowed him to reach controls that were difficult for others to access, and his gentle touch was perfect for the sensitive instruments. I'm detecting something, he announced. There's a small object about 2 kilometers from the collision site. It's giving off the same energy signature as known Raider technology. Can we retrieve it? Sarah asked. The object is wedged inside an asteroid, the Vrathan officer said, studying the readings. It would take our largest salvage ships to extract it safely. Or, Sarah said, someone small enough to get inside the asteroid and cut it out by hand. Everyone looked at her. Absolutely not, Kethvar said immediately. That asteroid field is unstable. One wrong move could cause a massive collapse. Do you have a better idea? Sarah asked. Kethvar was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Yes, we go together. I monitor the asteroid's stability while you extract the device. If anything goes wrong, I can get us both out safely. The Vrathan officer clicked in amazement. A Zephyrian and a human working as a team in such dangerous conditions? This is unprecedented. Everything about this situation is unprecedented, Sarah said. That's why it might actually work. 2 hours later, they had the proof they needed. The device was definitely Raider technology, and its malfunction had caused it to decloak at exactly the wrong moment, forcing the collision. But when they returned to the station, they found an even bigger problem waiting. Raider fleets have been detected approaching the system, Velneth announced grimly. It appears our investigation has attracted their attention. They're coming to silence any witnesses to their spy network. The Vrathan admiral was furious. This proves the raiders saw our fleets gathering and decided to attack while we're distracted by this diplomatic crisis. Our ships are scattered and unprepared for battle, the Drifter commander added worriedly. We came here for peace talks, not war. Sarah looked at the tactical display showing dozens of raider ships approaching fast. The Vrathan and Drifter fleets were still positioned as if they were about to fight each other, not work together against a common enemy. We need to get everyone working as a team, she said to Kethvar. Fast. Traditional military coordination protocols will take hours to implement, Kethvar replied. We do not have that much time. Then we don't use traditional protocols, Sarah said with determination. We make our own. As the Raider fleet drew closer, the unlikely partnership of a human and a Zephyrian prepared to attempt the most impossible, diplomatic feat of all, turning enemies into allies in the middle of a crisis. But not everyone was happy with their unconventional methods. In the shadowy corners of the station, other voices were beginning to whisper that perhaps it was time to stop this dangerous partnership before it changed everything. The Raider ships appeared on the edge of the system like a swarm of angry metal insects, 50 vessels of different sizes, all armed and ready for battle. On the station, alarm sirens wailed as everyone scrambled to prepare for the attack, estimated. Time to contact! 47 minutes, announced the station's computer voice. In the command center, chaos ruled. Vrathan officers were shouting orders in their clicking language while Drifter commanders floated around trying to organize their scattered fleet. The Zephyrian council members stood in the middle, looking overwhelmed by the noise and confusion. This is impossible! Admiral Krixtal of the Vrathan fleet buzzed angrily. Our ships cannot coordinate with Drifter vessels. Our weapons systems are completely different. Our pilots have never worked with Vrathan tactical patterns, the Drifter fleet commander agreed sadly. We will be destroyed separately rather than standing together. High Counselor Velneth's crystal body was flickering with stress. Perhaps we should evacuate the station and retreat to safer space. And let the raiders destroy everything here? Sarah asked, stepping forward. All the diplomatic progress, all the trade agreements, all the proof that different species can work together? Commander Chen, Velneth said tiredly, this is a military situation. It requires experienced fleet commanders, not diplomatic experiments. Sarah looked around the room at all the arguing aliens. Kethvar, how long would it take to coordinate these fleets using standard military protocols? Kethvar checked his data pad. Approximately 6 to 8 hours for basic coordination, 12 to 14 hours for full tactical integration. We have 45 minutes, Sarah said loudly, and the room fell silent. Then we die with honor, Admiral Krixtal declared. Better to fight separately than to surrender. Or, Sarah said, we try something completely different. She walked to the main tactical display and began pointing at the scattered ships outside the station. Look at this. The Vrathan ships are fast and heavily armed, but they can't take much damage. The drifter vessels are slow but heavily shielded, and they can absorb a lot of punishment. The Zephyrian ships are perfectly balanced but not specialized for anything. Yes, Admiral Krixtal said impatiently. Everyone knows this. So, instead of trying to make everyone fight the same way, what if each group does what they do best? Sarah continued. Vrathan ships hit fast and hard, then retreat behind drifter shields to reload. Zephyrian ships coordinate communications and provide support where needed. The fleet commander's biosuit pulsed thoughtfully. That could work, but the coordination required would be incredible. No one has the training to manage such a complex battle. I do, Kethvar said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. I have studied the tactics and capabilities of every species in this room, Kethvar continued, his crystal body glowing with confidence. I know how each type of ship performs, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and how they can support each other. But you are not a military officer, Velneth protested. You are a caretaker. No, Sarah said firmly. He's a coordinator, the best one you have. Admiral Krixtal clicked skeptically. And what would the human do in this battle? Hide in a safe room while the adults fight? Sarah smiled. I'll do what humans do best. I'll improvise. 20 minutes later, the raider fleet began its attack. But instead of finding scattered, confused defenders, they encountered something completely unexpected. Vrathan fighters screamed out of the asteroid field, moving faster than the raiders had ever seen enemy ships move. They struck hard at the raider formation, doing massive damage, then disappeared back into the asteroids before the raiders could respond. Where did they go? The raider commander demanded over the communication channels Sarah had learned to intercept. His question was answered when the Vrathan fighters emerged from behind a group of drifter ships, which had been hiding in the asteroid's sensor shadows. The drifters had used their superior shields to protect the Vrathan while they reloaded and prepared for another strike. This is impossible, the raider commander shouted. Different species cannot coordinate like this. From the station command, Center Kethvar managed the entire battle like a conductor leading an orchestra. His gentle voice guided ships through complex maneuvers. His perfect timing ensured that attacks and retreats happened at exactly the right moments. Vrathan Squadron 3, retreat to Drifter Formation 7 for shield cover, he would say calmly. Drifter Group 2, advance to position Delta 5 to intercept raider bombers. But the raiders were learning too. They began targeting the communication arrays, trying to break up the coordination that was making the defense so effective. They're jamming our signals, Kethvar reported with worry. I'm losing contact with the outer formations. Then we need to get closer, Sarah said, already moving toward the door. Sarah, where are you going? Kethvar asked. To that communication relay station that got damaged in the first attack. If I can repair it, you'll have direct line of sight to the entire battle area. That station is in the middle of the combat zone, Velneth protested. It's completely exposed. Then I better hurry, Sarah said. 5 minutes later, Sarah was floating in space outside the damaged relay station, tools in hand and laser fire lighting up the darkness around her. Raider fighters kept swooping past, trying to target her, but Vrathan escorts drove them away each time. Sarah, Raider bombers are approaching your position. Kethvar's voice crackled through her communication device. How long do I have? Sarah asked, working frantically to reconnect severed cables. 90 seconds. Sarah worked faster than she had ever worked before. Her hands moved with precise efficiency, connecting circuits and rerouting power systems. Around her, the battle raged as ships from 3 different species fought together against their common enemy. 60 seconds, Kethvar warned. Almost got it, Sarah muttered, making the final connections. 30 seconds. Sarah, you need to get out of there now. Done, Sarah shouted, activating the relay. Immediately, Kethvar's voice became clear and strong across all the ship frequencies. With perfect communication restored, he began coordinating attacks with surgical precision. The combined fleet moved like a single organism, each part supporting the others in perfect harmony. The Raider formation began to collapse under the coordinated assault. Ships that had seemed invincible when fighting scattered enemies found themselves overwhelmed by the unified defense. This is impossible! The Raider commander's voice came over the intercepted channels one last time before his ship exploded under concentrated fire from 6 different vessels. When the last Raider ship was destroyed or fled, the command center erupted in celebration. Aliens from 3 different species cheered together, their previous hostilities forgotten in the joy of victory. But in the corner of the room, Sarah noticed a group of traditional Zephyrian officials talking quietly among themselves, their expressions unhappy. Problem? She asked Kethvar. Some of our people are concerned, Kethvar admitted. They think our success proves that traditional methods are obsolete. They worry about what changes this might bring. Before Sarah could respond, "Hi." Counselor Velneth approached them. "Commander Chen," he said formally, "I owe you an apology, and I owe both of you my thanks." He turned to address the entire room. "Today we have learned something important about strength. It does not come from size or tradition or following old rules. True strength comes from choosing to work together, from combining different abilities to create something greater than any of us could achieve alone." He looked directly at Sarah and Kethvar. "The Galactic Council will be recommending that humanity be reclassified as an independent species, fully capable of equal partnership in galactic affairs." Admiral Krixtall stepped forward. "And the Vrathan Collective would be honored to have both Commander Chen and Coordinator Kethvar as advisors for future joint operations." "The Drifter Harmony agrees," added the fleet commander. "Your partnership has shown us new possibilities for cooperation." 6 months later, Sarah stood on the observation deck of a new type of starship, one designed by humans, Zephyrians, Vrathan, and Drifters working together. Through the window, she could see the construction of humanity's first galactic embassy. Kethvar joined her at the window, no longer carrying bags of comfort items, but wearing the insignia of an official galactic coordination specialist. "So," Sarah said with a smile, "still think humans need constant care?" Kethvar's crystal body sparkled with what Sarah had learned was Zephyrian laughter. "I think humans need partners, just like everyone else. And I think Zephyrians need to stop worrying about how tall they are and start focusing on how smart they are," Sarah replied. They stood together watching the stars, 2 beings from different worlds who had discovered that the best partnerships weren't about filling weaknesses, but about combining strengths to reach for something greater than either could achieve alone. The galaxy was a much bigger place than either of them had imagined, but somehow, facing it together, it didn't seem quite so intimidating anymore.